wait till it shows up on your page before you start. Because who knows?
Hey, it says starting.
That's a good sign.
That is a good sign. Live. So I guess that means we're live. All right, sorry we're a little late, everybody. A little technical difficulty getting things set up. YouTube likes to keep things interesting, changing things when they feel like it. So in any case, we're here today to do a live stream. I'm going to take some viewer questions and answer them. I got a good list of questions here for us to go over. Pretty sure there'll be something pretty much for everybody here. If you're watching, go ahead and give me a shout out in the notes or in the chat. I want to make sure we're actually going now. It seems like we are. I'll get going on the first question here. The first question is from Connie. It says, what is the best platform for recording and sharing videos? I'm thinking a length under 10 minutes. I need parents to be able to open and watch easily regardless of device or internet bandwidth. So this is actually a really big question. We could spend a whole video on that, and maybe I'll work on that later this week and see if I can pull one together. But just kind of a short answer. My first option, my first go-to has been Screencastify. I like Screencastify for a number of reasons. It uses a Google single sign-in, so you can use your Google account as your login. You don't have to create a whole nother account with new passwords and stuff to remember. It installs as a Chrome extension, and that to me is pretty important because if you go to install something on your district-provided MacBook or Windows laptop, it's going to ask you for a password from the tech support folks, and it's a little difficult to coordinate with them at the moment to get a password put in so that you can install some software. So the fact that it installs as a Chrome extension means that you can install it yourself and you don't need any help that way. I believe the free account has a 5-minute time limit on videos, which is really pretty short. If you're looking for short videos, it's not too bad. In the past, I have made my videos in like 2 parts to keep under that time limit. But really, I've been using a paid account for it. It's not all that expensive. And right now, they do have a special deal going on for educators. It's like 40% off. So that might be worth checking out. For me, it's been the simplest option. It's very easy to record with. Marcus, if you'll show my desktop, I'll go ahead and show real quick how quick and easy it is. If I go up here to the upper right-hand corner, there's the icon for Screencastify, this little kind of orange arrow thing. And when I click on that, it gives me this pop-up that shows the settings. And it's real pretty straightforward. Enable or disable your microphone if you want, include your webcam or not, and then you click record and away it goes. When you get done, it puts it right into Screencastify's editor. It has a very simple editor. You can easily drag sliders to crop off the end of the video or the beginning of the video. You can even take video out of the middle if you want, if there's a gap where you take a break or something like that. So it's got some simple editing along with it. And most importantly for me is that you can download your videos as MP4s. That way you don't have to worry about being stuck with some provider service for streaming out those videos. Some of the other screen recorder software out there ties you into their website, their service for streaming out the videos, and I just don't like that option. I would much rather be able to own the video and do with it as I please. Post it on my Google Classroom or post it on my class website or however I want to send that out. So that's been my go-to, my favorite option at the moment. Second option for the iPad folks, iOS Screen Recorder. This is a product by TechSmith. Again, Marcus, you'll pop over to my screen. TechSmith makes a bunch of products for stuff like this, for screen recording and screencasting. They make a popular piece of software called Camtasia. If you've been around Macs for a while, you've probably heard of that one. Great screencasting, screen recording software for the Mac. But this one works on iOS. I have not used it. I can't really tell you how great it is or not, but I have read a couple of reviews that say that it works pretty well. So if you're interested in recording your Mac or sorry, not your Mac, your iPad or iPhone screen, give that a try and see how it works. I'd love to have some feedback on that if you've got a chance to try that out. All right, back to my other options. Third option is Loom. I tried out Loom about almost a year ago, about 9 months ago, I guess. And Loom is also very simple, straightforward, easy to use, a lot like Screencastify. It was not free. They didn't have a free version that worked so well. The video editing wasn't as good, but they've done a lot to upgrade that and fix that recently. And with all the stuff that's going on with the virus and whatnot now, they have made it free for teachers. So you can get a full-fledged version of it free. You just have to sign up and they have to verify your account's an education account and stuff like that. But once you get that, it's a good way to go. And this may actually turn into my new go-to software. It's pretty good. The only thing I didn't like before is that it wasn't free. So now that they got it for free, that's a really solid choice. It also installs as a Chrome extension, just like Screencastify. It allows you to use your Google Chrome or your Google email account as a login, so you don't have to worry about multiple logins and stuff like that. A lot to like with Loom. Loom is the name of that software. And then the last option is really the pro level kind of option. We're talking about, nope.
We have like half a dozen people emailing wanting to get the link to work and it's not working for them.
Because they have to click on the video.
So can you send out another email?
I can send out an email. I'm being told that people are stuck.
Mr. DJ, Mr.
Yep.
James.
Okay. All right, we'll come back to that option in just a second. Let me send out a quick email. Apparently people are stuck.
It's just to the channel. They have to click the actual.
Yeah.
Or this link might do it.
Please stand by.
Yeah, Mr. Blade said it didn't happen until later. Because we didn't start until just a few minutes ago.
Yep. So I think some people are having a difficult time finding the stream. Again, YouTube likes to keep it interesting.
On the homepage now. It wasn't at first.
Oh, okay. Well, in any case, I will. I'll send out a link again. The good news is that people can go back and watch the whole thing if they missed the beginning. Won't be the end of the world. Here.
Just click on that video and copy the link.
This one here.
Will it start out YED1?
Yes.
Yeah. Send that.
All right. All right. So back to it here. OBS. So on the pro level for screencasting, recording your screen and whatnot, I would recommend OBS. It's free. It is kind of pro level. It lets you do just about anything you want. It does have a steep learning curve, and it does have to be installed. Probably going to want a desktop PC to run it from. You can do probably quite a bit from a laptop, but anyway, that would be kind of the pro level option to doing things. We're using OBS here today to show you my desktop. So, but it is free. That is a good price. As far as sharing it out, once you've downloaded your video that you've created, there's a number of options for you to go to as far as sharing it out. You could upload it to YouTube. You can store it in your Google Drive. And then once it's in your Google Drive, you can link it to just about anything, share it in an email, whatever. You can put a link to it on Google Classroom, put it as part of an assignment or a message that you want to send to your students. You can even embed it in Sites, in your Google Sites webpage, or you can embed it into Google Slides. So all of those things are good options. What I usually do is store the video in my Google Drive, and then I post a link to it on Google Classroom or my website. Questions around YouTube. It looks like the district is going to open up YouTube at least to the secondary students. I'm not sure what they're doing with elementary. So it may be a possibility. It may be a good thing to post some of these videos that you make on your YouTube channel, and then your students will have one place where they can find them. That's always an option. So we'll have to see how that goes with opening it up from the district side for students to access. All right, second question from Kathy. It says, how do you make groups within Google Classroom so that team teachers can concentrate on just their roster of students? All right, so this is a little bit interesting. It doesn't quite work the way you'd want it to, but there's some reasons why it can't. Anyway, I'm just going to make a quick test class here so I can show you where to go. And that comes up in just a moment here. Come on, Google Classroom. Dave Hajak. I thought it was an April Fool's joke. Nope, no April Fool's. Okay, so Marcus, if you switch over to my desktop there. Here's a classroom. I just made a quick class. Doesn't have any students in it, so we don't have to worry about privacy stuff here. Let's see. If I go to classwork and I create an assignment, when I go to create an assignment, over here on the right-hand side, it says all students. And if I had students in the class, the top choice would be all students, and that's the default. Then there would be a list of all the other students that are in the class. So if you want to assign it to just certain students, you check the certain students you want to send it to. It would be nice if you could have like labeled groups, group A, or group B, and you could just check group A and it would go to all those students. It doesn't quite work that way. So every time you assign an assignment, you're going to have to go through and check the students that you want it to go to in group A, and then make another assignment. Copy the assignment would be the easiest thing, so you don't have to type everything again. Copy that assignment and then check the students that are in group B for the second round, so that you can put them each in different groups, different assignments going to different groups. Another option is to go ahead and create different classrooms for those students. I'm not so sure I like that option. If I was an elementary teacher, I might like that option better. I might have separate classrooms anyway for different subjects. Not sure. I'd have to test that out. Not being an elementary teacher, I'm not sure how that works for you guys. But that might be an option for the different groups of students. Just make them be different classrooms altogether. So not a perfect option, perfect solution there. But at least you can assign an assignment to specific groups of students by choosing them there with that pull down list right there. All right. Let's see. Third question, Rhonda, if I'm in a breakout room with a student, how do I show a worksheet on part of my Zoom screen and my face on the rest? This one actually is not obvious, but it already does it. If I'm understanding your question correctly. Here's a picture. Flip that over there, please. There we go. Here's a picture of a screenshot I did with a video, a Zoom video conference with myself. So I had two different laptops going. Both pictures up there are of me, but they're two different accounts. One is hosting the video and one is joined the video chat. And you can see that not only is the screen being shared down below, but it's also showing the picture up above. So your face is still there when you are sharing your desktop by default. So no worries there. And of course, you wouldn't know that if you hadn't been on the guest side of a Zoom chat where somebody shared a document or a screen with you. Next question from Elizabeth. In Zoom, do you have to enable join before host and, big capital letters, and both, enable waiting room if you would like to have a waiting room, or can I enable the waiting room without enabling join before host? I would like to use the waiting room feature, but I'm confused about how to make sure that it is set up correctly. So no, those two settings are independent of each other. You can have, you can not allow people to join before you, separately from whether or not you have a waiting room. And you can have a waiting room even if you allow people to join before you or not. So it goes either way. I tried this out last week. Some of you jumped on and got some help, and also helped me test out that waiting room idea. It shows up in your users lists, your participants list, as somebody sitting in the waiting room, and then you can click accept and bring them into your classroom. So those two settings are used separately, and you can use them together if you want to do both, but you don't have to use both at the same time. It's a good question. Next question also from Elizabeth. If I'm going to have Zoom conference with my classes where I'm answering questions and teaching students for a period of time, do you suggest I have a separate Zoom room or PMI for drop-in office hours where I might be conferencing with parents and students, or should I use the same PMI? So here's my take on it. I would use the personal meeting ID, the personal meeting room, your meeting room, for anything that I have scheduled. If I schedule in advance, that's what I'm going to use. If I'm scheduling students to come meet with me at a certain time for class that day, then I'm going to use that meeting room. If I'm just going to do a quick meeting, drop-in kind of thing, a student emails me and says, hey, I have this question, and I say, hey, here's this Zoom meeting, jump into it real quick and I'll explain it to you, then I'm just going to use a random room that they assign for that. So I think that's probably the best option as far as how to use those. I do want to show something else with this. This made this pop in my mind here, and shout out goes to Jason for this idea. You can actually change your meeting ID, that PMI number, the personal meeting ID, and he suggested changing it to his work phone number. It's a number that parents are already familiar with. It's in, for example, my course syllabus that I send out to students. They can get that phone number, I think, from the school websites. There's usually a phone list on there. In any case, that might make it easier for people to remember and be more identifiable to you as well. So anyway, that's not a bad idea. Next question. Could I use the share screen feature to show a YouTube video to my students that we watch together? The short answer is yes, but I probably wouldn't do it. I think you might run into bandwidth issues depending on how your internet works at your house. You would be streaming the video in from YouTube and then out through Zoom, and it just really wouldn't be the most efficient way to do it. I suppose if I had elementary students and it was a short clip, maybe a 20-second clip or a 30-second, maybe something under a minute at most, I might give it a try and see how it works. But I really don't think that's the best option for having them watch a video. I think a better option is to give the link to the students and either have them watch it before they come to class, before your meeting time, or take a quick break and say, here, watch this 1-minute video, and in 2 minutes, we're going to come back together to talk about it. So that's probably a better way to go than streaming it over your Zoom meeting. Next question is from Pat. It says, can we add the Chrome extension Cami to our computers? Yes, you can add it to your computers, the district computers, your staff computer. It's an extension. For those of you not familiar with Cami, Cami is a PDF markup tool. It's a Chrome extension, works right in the Chrome browser, easy to do. A separate question is, can students add this? And at the moment, I went and tested this with my daughter's Chromebook, and at the moment, it is not allowed through the district. So that is something that I'm pretty sure we could get allowed. You just have to send a request to your tech support person to get that going. So if you want to use Cami with your students and have your students use it for markup, then I would send that request right away to your tech support person and see if they can't get that enabled. My tech guy is saying I should read the comments. Jason says you can also customize the link to your own personal room. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. Rhonda says we got an email from Zoom last night saying that to be safe, the waiting room feature is being disabled or defaulted to from now on. Okay, so that's an interesting idea to think about that some, but I think that's not a bad idea. There's another question that we have a little bit later on in the broadcast here about using that feature with students to make sure that they're not in there chatting unsupervised and free for all while you're not there and whatnot. So I'll address that again in a minute, but I didn't get that email yet from Zoom, but I'm not against that idea. I think that's probably a pretty good idea. Let's see. Next question. Timothy says, should we be concerned about Zoom bombing? So if you're not familiar, this is an issue that they had a few weeks back where people were basically doing a live stream like I'm doing here through YouTube, but they were doing it on Zoom. And what they would do is they'd get on Twitter or Facebook or some social media, and they would post the link to their Zoom meeting, and they'd have hundreds of people, maybe even thousands, I don't know, join their Zoom meeting, and they would just have a great big free-for-all kind of meeting. The problem with that is that some bad actors would get on there and they would jump in and share their screen, forcing whatever's there on their screen onto everybody else in the meeting's screens. And there was some pretty inappropriate stuff that was going out there. You can imagine what people might do there. So Zoom made some changes to help alleviate this. I don't think it ever would have been a problem with us with students necessarily. You're going to know who's sharing what. So I don't know that that's a huge issue. Frankly, I wouldn't allow students to just generally share their screen whenever they want to. If I wanted a student specifically to share their screen, then I would enable that for that student at a time. But I don't think it's a huge problem. So no, I don't think you should be concerned about it at this point. That was only a really problem with people posting that link on social media. Do not do that. Don't put out the link to your meeting room on a public page. If you post it in Google Classroom, then only your students can see it. That's a good way to go. If you send it to them by email, they're the only ones that'll see it. That's a good way to go. If you post it on your website for all the world to see, then you might get all the world showing up to your meeting. So don't do that. Next question. If we are recording a class Zoom meeting with teacher and student interaction and then uploading the video to our Google Classroom for students who were unable to attend the session, are we in violation of FERPA or other privacy laws? That's a really good question. I'm going to give you my opinion for whatever that's worth here. I do not speak on behalf of the district. I will look into this. I'm going to have to ask Les about this and see what he has to say, and maybe get some official guidance from the district. But I think so long as you're not posting it in a public fashion, in other words, I wouldn't post the video to YouTube and make it public for all the world to see. I think you're probably going to be okay. If you just store the video in your Google Drive and then post it on Google Classroom, a link to it, where only your students can access it, I think that's probably going to be okay. I don't think I'd worry too much about it. Good question, though, and I will follow up on that. I'll have to ask some more about that. Let's see. Next question. What settings like disabling join before host should we be setting to protect ourselves from students being unsupervised prior to the beginning of the meeting? That's a good one. Disabling join before host so that they have to wait until you're there is probably the best way to go with that. You can also use the waiting room. So that gives them a chance to get there. If you just use the waiting room, they'll be sitting in the waiting room until you bring them in, and then you can just bring them all in together. So either one of those or in combination would be a good way to go. I don't think there's really any other settings in there. I haven't seen anything else that speaks to that. So I think that's probably about it, just those two. Next question. Does the district have guidelines or any guidance in the use of Zoom so we don't get ourselves or the district in trouble? Again, I don't speak for the district necessarily. And I guess the short answer is I haven't seen anything specifically regarding the use of Zoom with students or other video conference stuff from the district. So something I will reach out for and see if we can't get an official statement, some guidance from the district on that. Some things to think about, though. These are just my thoughts. Take that for what it's worth, which may not be a whole lot. It's probably best to meet with at least a few students at a time. I generally try not to meet one-on-one with students if I don't have to when we're in class. And when I do have a student that's working on something by themselves, I generally prop the door open just as a general rule. So meeting in a Zoom meeting with multiple students at a time, a small group at least, probably not a bad idea. Is it always going to work out that way? Probably not, but something to think about. When you're on video, be mindful of the things you got in the background. You might have pictures on the wall, a poster or something like that. Maybe it's not offensive, but maybe it's a distraction that you just don't need. Students often are more interested in what's going on in the background around you than what you're saying at the moment. So be mindful of what's in your background. Find a nice blank wall or something not too distracting to be in the background. Record the sessions. I would absolutely record every single one. You never know. Somebody's going to say, well, he said such and such, or she did this, or I saw that. Just record them and save them. I would throw them in your Google Drive. If you didn't know this already, your Google Drive through the school district has unlimited storage. Literally unlimited. The only condition is you can't have a single file be more than 4 terabytes in size, which is absolutely huge. So you'll never run into a problem storing more stuff in your Google Drive. So record every session, small, large group, one-on-one, 1-minute session, 30-minute session, whatever, record them all, download them, and then store them in your Google Drive just in case there's a problem later. Last thing is, don't post videos publicly. The videos of you meeting with students I'm talking about here. If you're going to make a broadcast where it's just you talking, doing a screencast, or you talking to the camera, I don't think there's a problem with posting those to YouTube or posting those publicly. But if you're going to have student interaction and stuff in there, save those to your Google Drive, share them through Google Classroom so they're only really accessible by your students, and you'll be a lot better off there, I think. All right, I've been kind of ignoring the questions. Let's see, comments in the chat. Question says, if you share a video with your class, can students then share it somewhere else? That is always a possibility. Frankly, anything that you post in Google Classroom could be shared to the outside world if a student grabs it and then puts it out there online. So there's nothing to stop that. This is no different at this point in time. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I've been using Google Classroom, posting stuff to it every assignment, every day for the last couple years, and I haven't had that issue. Not that I know of anyway. I suppose there could be stuff out there. So yeah, there's nothing to stop them from doing that. It just is what it is in that case. All right. That is about it for the questions that I have. As always, feel free to shoot me your questions. I'm happy to answer. I'm answering emails a lot lately. Any time of the day or night. I honestly don't have enough to do with that regard, so I'm happy to answer questions. If I can't answer it in a simple email, I'm happy to do a Zoom meeting with you and explain things or help you out, help you get figured out how to do things. We're kind of all in this together, and we'll get it figured out. So any case, that'll do it for this time. Join us next week. We'll have a topic. I'm not sure what it'll be at this point, but we'll get it figured out, and we'll carry on. Take care, everybody.